Wow.
Yeah, that's
good.
a good batch.
Oh my God.
Tonight I'm making my cauliflower nachos recipe that's featured for my brand new 6-week summer meal plan. This is a high protein, low glycemic load alternative to traditional nachos, and it is so good. Let's dive into the recipe. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition human performance, and today's recipe is featured for my brand new 6-week summer meal plan that just came out a few weeks ago. It's all focused on body recomposition. It has over 50 brand new recipes, and it's packed with science-backed information to help support a body recomposition goal. In fact, I created this program when I was going through my own 20-pound postpartum weight loss journey. I used all of these tips and strategies to help me lose 20 pounds while keeping muscle mass and not having to count calories or feel hungry. There have already been hundreds of you guys who have gotten the program and are absolutely loving it, and it is a limited release meal plan, but once you own it for life. So if you want to grab my brand new limited release meal plan with over 50 brand new recipes, you can find it popped up here somewhere, or you can find it on my website at autumnlnutrition.shop. Okay, my oven is now preheated. Let's get started. So this recipe uses cauliflower instead of just regular corn tortilla chips. Cauliflower takes on pretty much any flavor, making it a great option to use as a chip alternative. It's also low glycemic load, which means it's not going to have a very big impact at all on blood sugar level. So it's going to be more nutrient dense, more satiating, and more supportive of a weight loss or body recomposition goal than regular tortilla chips. Actually, that little beep was my oven preheated. So in order to kind of mimic the chip or nacho experience, I'm going to chop this up into cauliflower florets and bake them in the oven with some paprika and garlic powder. And then of course some olive oil and salt as well. By baking in the oven, it's going to make it a bit crispy and also give it some substance to actually make a nacho with. Now when chopping up the cauliflower florets, you want to make them the right size. You don't want it to be too small because you want it to have like some type of chip quality to it, but you also don't want it to be so big that it's not really going to get crispy. So you want it to look roughly about this level of choppedness before you add all the seasonings and the olive oil and salt, and before you put it in the oven. So the recipe calls for 1 head of cauliflower. I'm using 2 because these are tiny, and I'm using about half a teaspoon of paprika and about half a teaspoon of garlic powder, although you could use more if you want more. And then just a drizzle of olive oil and a heavy pinch of salt. So the oven was preheated to 425, and I'm baking it for about 20 to 25 minutes or until the cauliflower looks a little bit crispy. Okay, so while the cauliflower bakes, now I'm going to make the protein portion. Now you can use any type of ground protein. If you're plant-based, you can use tempeh and just like crumble it up. I love using beef for a plethora of reasons. It's high in iron, it's got a good amount of selenium, and it's just one of the most satiating proteins you could eat, which means it's going to make you feel fuller longer. So this recipe does serve 4. So in order to get 30 grams of complete protein per serving, we're going to use 1¼ pounds of ground meat. So in a pan over medium heat, I'm going to add about a teaspoon or so of olive oil, and then put in my ground beef with a heavy pinch of salt. From there, I'm just going to saute it up until it's fully cooked, making sure I break it up a lot because I want it to be crumbly. And then for the actual flavoring of the protein, I'm adding in enchilada sauce. Now I have a homemade enchilada sauce that I love. It's in my complete intermittent fasting bundle, but you can also use any store-bought one too. There's so many different like red enchilada sauce, green enchilada sauce, really whatever type you like. I like using a red enchilada sauce for this recipe. So once the protein is cooked all the way through, I add in a half cup or a little bit more of the red enchilada sauce and just let it simmer for about 3 to 5 minutes. The goal is just to let the meat cook down a bit and become infused with the red enchilada sauce flavor. And I still have a few minutes left before the cauliflower is actually done, so I'm going to prep my other toppings. For this, I'm going to make some guacamole, and I'm just adding in some jalapenos, some onions, some cilantro, lemon juice, salt, and just a dash of cumin. So just a simple guacamole. And then I'm also going to shred the cheese. Now, normally I would like to get a pre-shredded Mexican style cheese because it's just so much easier and it's going to work best for this recipe, but I was not prepared. I don't have that on hand. So instead, I'm just going to put some sharp cheddar on top, which still works. You could still use any type of cheese that you like, but I will say the Mexican style shredded cheese is my #1 for this recipe. Now, if you're plant-based, you could use a cashew cream style cheese to dollop on the end, but this obviously does not melt, so it's not something you'll want to put back in the oven once the cashew cheese is on top. So I'm using about 4 ounces or so of the shredded cheese. Okay, so now that the cauliflower is done, I've removed the cauliflower from the oven and I'm topping it with the cooked protein, the one that was just cooked in the enchilada sauce, the shredded cheese, as well as the beans. So this recipe does call for frozen corn. Again, not prepared, didn't have it on hand, but I do have beans. So instead, I'm just doubling the amount of beans to make up for the corn that I'm not adding in. But if you were to use both corn and black beans, then you'd use a ½ cup of each. For this, I'm using a little over a cup in total of black beans to replace the corn. Once all those toppings are added on, then I'm just throwing it back in the oven for about another 3 to 5 minutes or until the cheese is melted. And this really is best served immediately. So as soon as it's done, pop that guacamole on top. If you have some sour cream you want to throw on there, by all means add it. You could also add on some red onions or some sliced jalapeno or even some more cilantro if you like, and it's good to go. Gotta be honest, I'm gonna try it back.
Looks good.
Get some guac.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good batch.
Oh my god. That's really good.
Now this recipe is featured for my brand new 6-week summer meal plan. It's all focused on body recomposition, which is where you burn fat while keeping muscle mass. Over 50 brand new recipes, 6 weeks of meal planning, and so much science-backed tips to help support a body recomposition goal. It is a limited release program, so if you want to grab it, make sure you check it out at autumnlnutrition.shop. But if you want to see another breakfast option that's featured from the brand new meal plan, make sure you check out this video next. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.